Hello sweet friend, my name is Maike, and in this video I would like to do some journaling with you. I have my line art ready to be colored and I thought maybe you would like to join me for this part. And if you're curious, this is drawn with my Sailor Pro Gear with a medium nib. This is a wonderful juicy nib because I got this adjusted also. And the ink is waterproof. This is Octopus Fluids Seahorse Brown, I think is the name. And I hope it shows up. I would say it's a sepia brown. So it's a very, very dark brown, but it has a slight greenish, yellowish tinge to it. I think it's quite lovely. Because my Sailor is quite juicy and because the Octopus Fluids inks are quite juicy, it almost gets too thick for some of the smaller elements here, but I think I may do. I just had to give these characters here some stick figure arms and legs because they got so small, but that's fine. And yeah, this is my Traveler's Notebook insert with the Midori Cream color, which I love, and I've been very much enjoying going from the A6 to this format to be able to fit multiple drawings on the same page. And wow, this is almost out of water, this Pentel brush pen, but I think it's gonna be okay. And yeah, I think what I want to start with is maybe this bigger illustration here in the middle, because I definitely want to make sure that you can tell that this is a lake, this is water, and maybe getting that pinned down will help me figure out some of the other colors that I want to use. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So this is a little comic. I've been, yeah, like I said, really enjoying having more space and playing around a little bit with, yeah, doing these sequential or sequences of things. And this was when I was still in Germany, where my parents live, and there are some swimming lakes, and I am looking at a picture right now and the lake water is pretty green, so I'm trying to get that to read, and maybe I'll just go with that. I don't want to make it too green, even though the water is green, but since I do want to have it read as water, putting in some more blue. Trying to not make the paint too wet, just because I want to keep the colors relatively light so you can still see the line work. I want to preserve that. And so I try to. Sometimes I get a little heavy-handed, but I try to keep the colors on the lighter side. And yeah, I've been wanting to go swimming in the lake for several summers now, and sort of never made it really happen. And being in Germany and it being so easy to get to this lake just made me realize, okay, I just gotta do it, even if I do it by myself, right? It's so easy to not do a thing when you have no one to go with. And I do want to say that, of course, my husband would have gladly accompanied me if I really had, wanted that or pushed for that. But I've actually been challenging myself to do things on my own and to just go for it. I'm definitely an introvert. I am really good being by myself. I don't mind it as much, and my threshold for feeling lonely is pretty high. Like I can go for days. And so it's an interesting dynamic to be so okay with being on my own, and yet once it involves being on my own and leaving the house and doing activities that other people might be doing with, you know, with friends or family, that all of a sudden is much more of a project to get myself to commit to it and actually do it. Yeah, but this is actually the second thing in a row where I was able to to get myself to go. I showed that, I think, in my last video, in my last flip through. I went to a exhibition by myself because I just happened to be physically there. Otherwise, my husband would have gladly accompanied me. And I think he would have actually liked seeing all that. But just the logistics of it were different. This tree was actually in the shade, so I'm trying to add like a darker color. I don't know if I like the water. Looks a little too tropical. That was not a tropical lake. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just wash it out a little bit too. Maybe it's just overall too dark. This is definitely pushing it for the Midori paper. I mean, it does really well with the watercolor, but it's also not watercolor paper, so taking paint off. But I think that's a little better. Maybe I'll just leave it as that. Yeah. Okay, let's see what all the greens we can make here. Oh, what happens? That's the one thing about everything being green, is that you have to make them read as different things. Yeah, that area around that lake, or where my parents live, is so gorgeous. Even the bike ride is so wonderful. Just through the fields and among trees, it's just absolutely incredible. So even the ride was a pleasure. And because it was just a normal, I think this was a Monday maybe, just a random Monday in the middle of the day. There weren't many people around. There were some families with smaller kids already there, and by the time it got later in the afternoon, of course it filled up. But yeah, that was quite lovely. I'm so glad I did it. That's the other thing too. Whenever I do get myself to do these things, afterwards I'm so glad. And even if the event itself wasn't quite what I had hoped or expected it to be, I'm still happy. I can feel that it just feels good to do something that you want to do, and that you pursue something that brings you joy, or that you're curious about, and that you in a way take yourself seriously in that way. Like, no, why wouldn't I make this happen for myself, you know? Yeah. Do you ever get that? Is that something that you have maybe learned already and have tips to share with those of us like me who are still sort of slowly dipping their toes into doing these things? Definitely be appreciative of tips or frameworks, or just share examples maybe of things that you've done for yourself, and you're glad that you went. And of course there's always a safety thing too, you know. This was a very safe thing to do by myself. There was absolutely no risk of me feeling in danger at any time. So that, of course, yeah, is a thing to consider. And I can just be glad that where my parents live in Germany, it's very, very safe. Or Germany in general, I feel like. And especially with other people there and small families. And I think that tree trunk is not quite, I'm chatting away, and so I'm not fully paying attention to what I'm doing with these colors. So overall, I think I'm starting to get used to my palette setup. Yeah, I think that needs to be darker. I think I gotta put some contrast on that tree trunk, and then I'll mix in some of this blue that I've also used for some of the greens, which can help with making colors blend or be harmonious within the picture. Not that this is a fully like fancy watercolor painting. I think I've been looking at illustrations by Chatty, who's a French illustrator, or was, I don't think he's with us anymore. But he has a way of coloring his line work, and his line work is just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm glad that he's so careful with keeping that. But yeah, he has this way of doing these soft layers of color, and he is in some ways so decisive as to where he even puts the color, to really make the things that need to stand out. And I have been trying to study his stuff and copy some of his illustrations, but compared to his work, this would probably read as heavy-handed. And I'm not trying to be hard on myself or anything, but I think that's true. And now I wasn't smart, so the color that I picked for the lake, I didn't already put on the lake, and now I don't remember quite what I did. So we'll just improvise. Maybe we just take blue and some of this ochre. Maybe that's a little bit lighter of a color. Yeah. And then I'm gonna spare the feet, just so that it looks like the rest of the body is underwater, but the feet are sticking out like so. I think we could do a little bit more blue, don't we? So yeah, but it's all, a process, and it's fun either way. I get to play around with colors, which is always good. And looking at other artists is fun, and there's always something to learn, even though it sometimes takes you a couple tries to fully get that the way you want it to. Not that it is about fully copying either, but you get what I'm doing or saying. Okay. Do we think that reads as lake water? I think so. It's good enough. Close enough. Close enough is good enough. And then, that's a nice, little bit more of a punchy green for the hedges and trees in the back there. Just being fully immersed. I did go into the water, and it was nice and cool. I must say, though, that by the end of it, like I said, I was so glad that I did this for myself, but I had more of a nostalgic the nostalgia for it, like swimming in the lake, was more than the actual revisiting and having the same experience again was. But I had more fun doing the bike ride to the lake, actually. And once I was out of the water, I had cooled down enough that I was almost cold, but then it takes me about half an hour to do that bike ride, and so by the end of it I was hot again. Once I got home. So the refreshment only lasted, while I was actually there. But like I said, I was still super glad that I did this, and yeah, just still had a good time. Even though the actual experience of being in the water wasn't quite it. And maybe we give this kitty cat some cheeks because it was warm. And also, whenever you put in cheeks, even if you do very limited coloring, so for example, maybe I can show you that. I sometimes also like to do this sort of thing where when I use colors that are not waterproof, it's quite fun to just go in with 1 or 2 marker colors and yeah, add some shade to it, or shading, not shading, more like just another tone of color. And yeah, even there, it's just, if you give the cheeks, it immediately reads more alive. And if you're curious, this is Wearing Gold Camilla. Pretty color, pretty pink. But yeah, I felt for this one, because it was so summery and all the trees, I really wanted to go in with my watercolor. That's sometimes how I think about it. Although again, it can also be a fun challenge to be more graphic with certain things. And so yeah, now onto the cats and the other accessories. I'm not too concerned about making this match, although I do think I had a pink shirt on. I'm pretty liberal when it comes to making that look like the real thing. I guess I don't really care unless it was about a specific outfit. And that, you know, is up for the individual to decide what is or isn't worth making accurate. But I guess it's a little bit of a muddy pink, I guess. Yeah. It's okay though. And maybe we'll just give some brown pants. Keeping it simple, like so. I do think these kinds of things are also very interesting to journal about when you sort of reach a, well, I don't know if it counts as a decision or an event. When you make something happen, and even just reflecting on why you haven't done so before might be interesting. I guess I could explore that too. Because I don't know. I don't think it is about the, oh, people will think, why is she alone? Because I don't care. And also, you know, that's not a bad thing. I think for me, it might actually be more about that what I want to do is worth doing just for the joy of it. That I don't need permission or somebody else wanting to do something to feel quote unquote allowed to do something, maybe. Yeah. And then similarly to the shirt and blouse thing, I don't necessarily need the swimsuit to match anything. but maybe because we're tracking her with the pink, maybe I'll just make it pink. It also, it's nice to be standing out. And then maybe we just do stripies. That's fun. I actually don't own my own bathing suit. I borrowed one from an old one from my mom. Had this fun tropical pattern on it, which looked very interesting in the context of this swimming lake, but I wasn't gonna just go and buy a swimsuit just to swim in the lake once. Yeah, like so, and then maybe we can also have a little bit something more gray. What did we do? Pull the wheels. Yeah. I guess then we just need that little blanket that somebody had laid down. I would just give that a color, even though there's also a little purse and a ball. And then I guess they could have some color too, don't they? Yeah. What do you think? I really like this brown seahorse. I might have to put it maybe in my medium fine nib. Maybe that, because it writes so thickly, maybe that would help a little bit, although I do like the contrast, but depending on how many small items I want to fit on a page, obviously I'll still have to see about that. It's something that just, I think, develops over time and can change. But yeah, really, really fun. Let me know if you have experience with the Octopus Fluids Write and Draw inks. I mean, as you can tell, they're definitely waterproof, and I do find them to dry quickly or normally, just like I feel like other, like the Atramantis inks dry similarly. The Kakemori inks, they take forever, the pigment inks take forever to dry. So those are a little bit trickier to work with when it comes to this kind of stuff. But yeah, this has so far worked pretty well. And what does the nib look like? Yeah, there's no, I mean, there's a little bit of ink smudging, but so far no dry out issues. It always works right out of the gate, so there's that. Yeah, well, I hope you got some journaling done too, and that you're having a lovely summer and so many enjoyable things to journal about. And, you know, whether that's big trips or just you taking yourself out on a little outing to the lake. And oh, look at that. We forgot the the little oh my goodness, it's not a scarf, is it? What do you call that? A little handkerchief. No, not handkerchief. I don't know. You tell me. Maybe like so. All right. Well, let me know if you have any questions about any of this that we could make a separate video about. Always happy to try and do that. And other than that, thank you so much for enjoying this time with me, and until next time, happy journaling.